What's up, everybody? Dark Knight 316, Robert Wheeler Gaming, and this is the Roundtable Podcast. All right, so we start off every Roundtable Podcast with what are we drinking?
No, I got the Monster Electric Blue.
And then he brought me this Ghost. You can't see it because it's a ghost, but it's supposed to be the Welch's Grape. So we'll see how these taste. And then we also started off with what have you been playing?
Well, I've been in this Resident Evil kick. So last night, just platinum Resident Evil 3. I was thinking about, I may or may not make a video on it. I haven't decided yet, but I can tell you my thoughts on Resident Evil 3. I like Jill Valentine. I do not think she's good as her own protagonist of a game. I think Resident Evil 3 wasn't as good as 2. And I'll tell you this too, like, I like Claire in 2, but I also didn't think she would have held up as, like, a protagonist. Like, in this one, it's weird to me because it's like they added Carlos, and then he had very little to do. But, like, this game, you can beat in 2 hours. And because I had all the all unlocked when I bought the one pack when it was on sale.
It was like a special edition one.
Yeah, and I got the infinite rocket launcher, so basically it was even easier. But this game, it's sad to see how they did Jill. I think if they want her to come back, they should have her come back as in a feature game and have her come back as her own if they want to bring her back. But I was reading a lot of comments and people were saying that they did this because Tomb Raider was real popular, so they wanted kind of their own like female star. But I don't think she did well. I also think too, like, Carlos didn't do well in this one either. I think the game wasn't really structured well enough. Like, the story was decent, talking about how, like, the T-Virus Nemesis came in, it was a botched government plan, like, things like that. Like, okay, that was fine, but I don't think Jill would have been good enough to, like, she wasn't, in my opinion, good enough to hold the part 3, so, glad I'm finished. I've been looking up 4. I'm debating if I continue on to try to, because once I beat 4, then I platinum that, then I have 7 and 8 that's left. So I don't know if I should do that. So I'm kind of just contemplating it right now, whether or not I want to do that or not. But yeah.
So you say 3's the weakest out of them all that you played so far?
So I've played all the ones that I platinum, but 0 I haven't played. I haven't platinumed, but I do believe that I think 3 is the weakest, even out of 0. And 0 was my least favorite. I thought Jill was really good in part 1, but I don't think she ended up being good in 3. So.
All right, so you're in the Resident Evil phase or whatever.
Yeah, because the game comes out in a couple days. So.
Well, I've been continuing powering on Dragon Quest VII. I think I'm pretty much either in game or close enough to in game because I don't have that many pieces left of the puzzle to build the islands and stuff. I mean, unless there's like a whole nother world. Like, I can't remember. It's been years since I played the PS1 version of it. But I'm working on the old guy. His name's Marv or Merv. I'm working on building up his job classes. Everybody else is mastered out. And he's excuse me. He's my lower leveled person. Mm-hmm. So everybody else is at like 70 or close to 70. He's at like 40 something. So I have to go, once I get access to the liquid metal slime island type thing, then I'm just gonna build up everybody to 99. And then I'm thinking about like trying to master out all their stats so that then everything will be super easy when I go and fight the optional bosses and stuff, because you have to do that to fill up the monster list. So I'm thinking about doing that. But I'm having fun with this game. It's bringing back a lot of memories, and I'm glad that they did it kind of like the 3D-ish type one, where the other one was the 2D, kind of like the Final Fantasy like 1 and 2 kind of stuff. It was like that. And so those ones were harder to kind of remember on what you had to do, because there wasn't like a thing that tells you like, hey, go to this part, go to this one. Didn't have a marker on, so you had to figure out like, okay, in the PlayStation one, like one version, you once you put the island together, you had to figure out where the island was in the present. So it didn't have a marker on there that said this is what it is. So you had to go keep on exploring and stuff. So it made it harder in the PS1 version, but this one makes it a lot easier. But that's what we've been playing on there. So we're going to go with our stories here. Our first story that we're starting off with is Highguard. The developer, Highguard, if you didn't know, was a free-to-play game. It didn't do so hot with the 3v3. Then they made it 5v5. And now a lot of developers and stuff like that are leaving, and they're having layoffs and stuff like that. And everybody was wondering why Highguard was getting high praised at the Game Awards with Jeff Keighley and all that. And we were trying to figure out like, why is he pushing this game that nobody knows about? It didn't seem like it would got good praise or anything like that. Well, you find out that most of the development of it was by Tencent, which is a Chinese company that is a financial backer that pretty much tries to get into the gaming market by buying a bunch of these games or help funding a bunch of these games. But what makes this even more interesting is the people behind the Game Awards, like the I don't know, the members or the president or whatever. Most of those are either have money in Tencent or on the board of Tencent. So that's why they were pushing this money, and that's why Jeff Keighley was saying, "Oh, I didn't, I don't make any money off of this game. I was just pushing it." But you see that why it got free publicity, because most of the games that are shown off at the Game Awards, you got to pay like millions and millions of dollars. This one, they didn't pay anything for it. So I find it interesting that a lot of these Tencent games are not doing so hot. So what do you think about this one?
Well, I do think it's interesting though, because Tencent was the one who had that Horizon knockoff.
Yep.
So you saw that they lost that battle with that game. Now they're losing the battle with Highguard. But Highguard wasn't anything that kind of like took me by storm. I was kind of like, eh.
Yeah, the trailer didn't even look that like good for me.
But yeah, so I thought this game was, I thought it was interesting. The thing is though is I mean, I don't know if the game to me, because like a live service game that was recently good in my opinion was Helldivers too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Like I was thinking about that is how Sony's chasing the live service games, but yet they're chasing like Helldivers 2 is successful, and then they don't act like they can't do anything with. It's like they want 15 live service games, but
yeah, because kind of like with the recent news of Blue Point getting laid off from Sony, and Sony's closed down that company. Blue Point was known for the remasters and stuff. They wanted to do something other than remasters. So Sony, since they were pushing all the live service games, they're like, yeah, go make a live service game. What do you have in mind? And then they wanted that God of War live service game.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're trying to, with Sony, they're trying to hit that one where they can keep backing it up and making all this money off of it. But they're not doing so hot. So maybe they need like new talent in there.
Here's to me though is because I mean this is a hard space to get into, the live service game, especially because you have like everybody wants the Roblox, the Fortnites to take off. My question is always this: one, so if Tencent was the lead financial backer, did they have say on how the game was supposed to be made? Did they give the okay for it to launch, push out the way it was, or did they lead it to like a like a project manager, somebody like that who was behind the game to lead it? Because now, when you think of now how Highguard, they say up here that the player counts layoffs at the developer Wildlight Entertainment. Whose fault is the layoffs at Wildlight Entertainment? Is that the CEO's fault? They took backing from Tencent, and then Tencent, they basically have to listen to Tencent. So, what they should have done was, hey, whoever decided that that was an agreement with Tencent, that person should be the person who leaves. Not all those developers who, you know what, these developers will probably, maybe even find a better job later on.
Yeah, they'll probably find it with a different company.
I think it sucks, in my opinion, because one, layoffs suck. Mm-hmm. But two, I feel like that because we're seeing this a lot in gaming, who made that decision should be the one who has to go. Okay? Because you're making the decision that what we're seeing right now is you're throwing all your eggs in the basket for a 3 to 5 year development window. So you look at something like, let's say, how long Highguard took. Mm-hmm. So if it did take 5 years, that means that all your developers at Wildlight Entertainment were pressed to just create Highguard. Nothing else. No other way to be able to say, if whatever reason this game failed, you can make your money back. If this game was successful, then this other game that you're making just adds to the your profits. But they don't think like that, because they think if they put in they can make a game and it takes off like a Fortnite and all that, then you've made millions of dollars for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's the idea. But you have to play it safe in live service, because you have to say, if I create a game here, I need a game here. But I'm curious to know something though. How well is co-op games / like multiplayer doing in the industry right now? Is it as popular or more popular than single player games, or are single player games still dominant?
Well, I think it's like a 50-50 type.
You think they're still? You think it like you're in the market? It wouldn't really matter because
like if you figure like Call of Duty and Battlefield are like the biggest games on there, and that's you play single player, but you also play with the squad, so you go work as a team. So it's kind of like those ones there are both. But then you look at something like Helldivers, that's still going around, and that's a squad-based game as well, but you do single player. But then you look at a game like Highguard here, where it's the same live service type feel, but I think the problem with these live service games is they're trying to be like everybody else.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're not trying to come up with like the new thing that everybody's going to copy you. Because if you look at like with Sony with that 4-loop game that's going to be coming out, that's going to bomb. Because why do I say it's going to bomb? And you hear it here first is because if you looked at the trailer for it, it looks like it's like 20 different games in one, because they put in everything from all these live service games, because they're like, oh, if we put in all this, one of them's actually going to kick off. And it's like, no, you don't want to be compared to like Fortnite or PUBG or any of these ones. You want to do your live service game that has the one hook that's going to keep the people in there, that then everybody else will then end up copying that once they do the live service game. Because why do you think Sony is doing it? Is because Fortnite and PUBG and all those kicked off super popular, and the people keep playing it because it's fun, it has a good loop.
And educational.
And then so, Microsoft tried to do their live service games, didn't do it.
But here's the
Nintendo tried it. Now Sony's trying it.
Sony has their blueprint already for the live service game.
Well, they don't have Bluepoint. They don't have Bluepoint anymore.
If they took Helldivers 2 and used kind of that similar, like online, like you think if they did it where it was all like Horizon co-op as what they're, because I think that's gonna bomb. But if they did it like you had your own base and you're coming down there and it's like Aloy's leading the charge of you have to stop these, whatever group is coming by, and then you, this is how I am envisioning it. You're jumping down like in this off this plane in a parachute, and then you come down, and then just like Helldivers, you throw your stuff down, you get your weapons, and then you start taking everything out, and then you can get like stuff to improve your weapons, grab your weapon parts, like do all this.
Well,
stuff,
that's
start
what
stabbing people and like
that's what it is.
That.
That's what's going to happen in that.
But it's like that's how it should be. Is you use that blueprint of Helldivers too.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do that, but the problem with the Horizon one is they're also trying to make it like Monster Hunter, because you go around, doing, and it's supposed to be good. The problem though with this one is, I mean, they could change it by the time it comes out, but it doesn't have a created character one. Whereas like in Monster Hunter, you created your character, you created your companion. So if you did it single player, you had somebody else to help you out. But this one, it looks like there's certain people you have to play with.
Yeah.
So that means that then it's going to be different classes that each of these ones have. So
even that's how like Helldivers 2 is. You have the different types of classes. Because remember, you have like the one who's like faster. You have all those different ones. The problem is like they look at a game like let's say like a Valorant, a PUBG, something like that, and then they go, "Oh, we'll create because this character that they have here kind of looks similar to all the other characters that you see who are females."
That's all generic ones
in those other games. So that's where I think like Sony has their blueprint now. To me though, I hope Marathon is successful.
I don't think it will.
And I hope whatever they take with Marathon, it becomes successful enough that they can take that blueprint and make that as their live service, and then focus on non-live service games. But like, that's what I'm hoping. I understand the business model. I understand that you want somebody who's going to have, like, you want a game that you're going to be able to do in the next 10, 20 years. So, like, I understand that. It's just, I think you're looking at it wrong. I'm going to sneeze.
Well, I think like
excuse me.
They have a gold mine by doing the thing with Horizon, because Monster Hunter is really popular, and the Horizon game is kind of like a Monster Hunter game, because you destroy the monsters, get their pieces, you go to use it to upgrade thing. That loop is fun with Monster Hunter, and that would make sense with the Horizon 1. The problem I have though is these characters are going to be stuck in like the character classes, which the Horizon was never character classes. It was always like, like they made Aloy like, the jack of all trades on there. But I could see that if they were to do it on online, it would be similar to Monster Hunter and have it where you should create your own character, create a, pick a weapon class, if you wanted to do that, or make them where they can use any weapon, and then drop them out there. Have a central thing of like, this village is being attacked by all these dinosaurs. You need to, stop them. You do that loop. You can play with a bunch of players online to fight the big boss.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. It's like, you got to think, Monster Hunter had that kind of
that was the hook.
That sandbox kind of thing, how it is now. If everybody's trying to copy it, Horizon isn't something that is like, yeah, it has the success to be able to do it, but everybody's just going to say, well, this is just Monster Hunter as a Horizon skin. They're not going to have something as like a, like this, what sets it apart from Monster Hunter. And we won't see that with like these games. That's where I feel like, Highguard could probably bounce back with a couple things. One, they could probably bounce back with, because they slowly bounce back with like the 5v5. So their maps were too big from what I heard. I haven't played the game, so I couldn't give my expert opinion. But from what I heard, when 5v5 came, it kind of boosted up more player concurrent. But they could probably do it where, if the map is bigger, have more people be able to play. 1, 2, maybe a variety of how you can, skins, how you can build up your characters, things like that. But,
yeah, because the game was basically like, you pick a base, you put up the fortification to protect that base, then you go out to try to destroy the enemy's base. Excuse me. But when they had the three,
we're all kinds of messed up this morning.
when they had the 3v3, it was like you didn't have enough people to protect your own base.
Yeah.
The thing was too big that's why you needed those mounts like the unicorns and all that to get across the map to get to the other enemy's base. But it was like there was nobody defending it because everybody was trying to figure out how to get to the other base. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the base, it'd be like, okay, whoever got to it first, that person is destroying that base. These other people are not able to protect it because you can't find anything. So they should have thought about that when they were developing it. But I think the problem with games nowadays is they don't have anybody testing this stuff, but they have all these people that are financing the games and saying, okay, you got to get this game out by this time because we need this so that we can make money off of it. And they're trying to push it too quick and the games are not that popular. And then what do? They blame the developers of the game instead of the people that
who made the decision. Because you also got to think too, like we're gonna go into the story later on with like Xbox, but you got to think, like as a developer, are you gonna be like, no, this doesn't work? You're gonna be like, no, well, I want to get paid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, it works. I'll make it work. And then it might not work, and then you get laid off because of decisions by whoever was in charge. That's where I think it's like that person. I don't know whether or not Wildlight Entertainment. I'm gonna look into it after we're done with this, but like whoever is the owner or founder of Wildlight Entertainment, are they like? Did they lay off everybody? They just laid off the developers, but like that person is still in charge. That person should be the one to step down. And you know what? They probably got stock and all that stuff inside with Wildlight Entertainment, some kind of deal probably with Tencent that helped save them, whoever decided that Tencent was the lead backer. But this is where we're starting to see in the gaming industry right now is because gaming decisions by what people want to be able to chase rather than trying to innovate something.
Yeah, and you'll see with the other stories that we're talking about, this was 5+ years in the making, and now it's coming down to the effects of the decisions that were made. Because like 5-6 years ago, most of the people were talking about like these are not good things to do. Don't be putting this stuff in the games. Don't be making boring games. They kind of do what the fans want. Like, you got this audience. They didn't listen. They made their own decision. And now this is the effects of it. So, with our next story is Shawn Layden, the former president of Sony, says that PlayStation cannot get away with having a digital-only PS6 in the future. And the reason why is because there's some of the countries around the world, one, doesn't have enough bandwidth to download your games and stuff like that. So that's why they need the discs go, so they can't do completely diskless like Xbox tried, because of if you don't have strong enough internet to download all your games, you're not going to be able to play it. And then, you're not going to want to pay like $1,000 for this console and you can't even play it because it's digital only. So we might still look at a future where it's going to be 2 versions of the PS6. It'll probably be a digital-only PS6 for the people who can afford that and have good bandwidth. And then the disc version for the people who don't have good internet and do the disc. And I would rather prefer it still being disc, because having the physical copy, then I can play it at any time. Not have to worry about anything. But digital only, like, yeah, there's a convenience factor for digital only, but it's also not that great because you always have to have some internet to download, your stuff. But I think it'd be dumb for Sony right now to go and do digital only. Like, if they do a digital only and they make it like about $1,000 for their console, it's going to be like PS3 all over again. And because Sony right now has no competition, because if Microsoft is now basically a developers, their only competition is Nintendo, and they like to copy Nintendo instead of coming up with their own, then they're going to bomb as well, and then they're going to have to go back to, oh, let me listen to what the fans want. What does the fans want on here? And also the problem that Sony has right now for their problem is that they're not stockpiling a bunch of the chips, so PS6 might get delayed till 2030 or 2029, which then you're like, okay, well, your chips that you have in here are 5-6+ years old. Wouldn't you want then the newer stuff? So if it does come out in 2030, then they can't justify selling it for over $1,000 with old technology in it.
See, here's what I'm thinking. I'm reading that quote you were talking about where he says that Shawn Layden goes on to describe scenarios in which a wholly digital console wouldn't be viable in rural locations where high-speed internet isn't an option. Athletes traveling with their PS5s to play in hotel rooms and military bases in locations with no online access. My thought is PlayStation doesn't care because they're going to want to go with the people who can do it. Like they're going to price out the people who, like, oh, so if you're an athlete who's traveling, you're more than likely not going to get that many hours into the PlayStation. If you're somebody on a military base, you're more than likely not going to get that many hours in the PlayStation. So that's what they're looking at. Because you got to think like, okay, so I spent $500 on my PlayStation. Maybe I bought Call of Duty. Okay, now that may be the only thing I'm playing, but maybe I'm only going to play that every couple weeks because I'm traveling doing all this. They want the person who's going to play that, play the new game, get this, and you're within that ecosystem. So they honestly may not even care. Now, I know what he was saying is that they're probably looking, because he says that PlayStation is number one in 170 countries, and the guy who was interviewing Shawn Layden was saying that Xbox has a specific strategy with the digital, and it's been successful. But that's where I think is if PlayStation do research and they see out of those, let's say they're number one within 170 countries, and maybe 15 of those are these ones that he describes, then they would be like, who cares? We're pricing those guys out of the market because they can just go play the PS5, the PS6 is like how many people are actually buying a PS6 because that's what you got to think is a business model. Yeah, the console you're going to lose money on. It's the gaming, the subscriptions, the how many times you buy digital content. Because you even think when you're buying a $80 game now, and then you price
it's going to be way more now.
The $80 game, the developer let's say makes $10 off that $80 game, and Sony makes $70, or however. I forget what they said the percentage last time.
I think it's 20.
They made like 35 or something like that. But like you think with the margins of what they're going to make. They're going to want you to get more. So if you don't have an internet like that's strong, they're not going to want you to, because you're not going to download digital stuff. You're not going to be playing all that stuff.
This reminds me of the PS3 though. When they did that sticker price shock of $600, they were like, yeah, it's like a down payment on a car. Like you can finance your house, like do all the stuff there because they thought that they were a big shot because they were number one. And so this is starting to seem like
this is where I'm going to see the PS6.
So this kind of seems like every three, they're starting to get too cocky because PS6 it was PS3 when they were too cocky here. So if they come up with that strategy, like because they see that Xbox is successful in the digital one, they're like, let me go take a piece of that chunk of Xbox because Sony has a problem with never being themselves. They always try to copy everything because like if you look at the PS3 era where they had online, but then they're like, okay, we're going to make it free. And then they saw the success of Xbox, so then they charged. But then also they're like, oh, the Wii is really popular with their wireless movable controller. Oh, well, let's come up with ours. Move. And then Xbox came up with the Kinect. So it's like everybody's copying it. And then if the rumors are true with the next PlayStation, that they're going to have a dockable type one that's kind of like the Switch, then it's like you're copying everything. Why don't you be your own on there? But I think if they do the digital only one and they make it a high premium on there, then they will market out a lot of people on there because
you got to think though the digital. It's not that the digital market. It's because they can make more money off the digital market. It's not because like Oh, with the disc, because you got to think too. They could put in a program together that says like, if you want a physical copy, then you buy it directly through us. But in order to get a physical copy, we need 1,000 pre-orders. Like something like that of a physical copy. But it's because if they're gonna take that game, sell it to Walmart, Walmart gets their cut. Then they sell it whatever and it's sitting on the shelf. They already made their $30 or whatever they sold it for to get their cut. Whereas if they're selling it digitally, they're going to make more money digitally.
Yeah,
everybody wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know what the margin is for digital only, but I know with like
it's much higher.
Because I know with like retail, it's like, I think it's like 60, 20 or something like that, or
because
10.
You got to think, when I was doing research on that when they had those shovelware games, and basically it says with like a standard contract, like let's say it costs you like 500 games, like let's say it's like $500 per game, let's just say. So they put up $500 per game, and then they expected to sell 2,000 copies at $2 a pop. So if they kept doing that. But then it would say that, okay, so if Sony took their percentage, if they took 40%, and then you kept the 60%, or however the margins were, and then you got to think, they're going to want you to sell more digital, because if I can take 40% off of every $2 game and make $1 million that way, I even be able to push 1 million physical copies faster than somebody could buy. Oh, you know what? I can digital and play it tomorrow morning and let it download overnight.
Yeah, and I know it's cheaper because like with the physical copy, you gotta make the cases. You gotta burn all the discs on there, like all that kind of stuff that's there. So maybe what could be a compromise is kind of like what you said. Maybe they do pre-orders. And then they have it where you can pre-order digitally or pre-order it physically, give you a choice. And then when it comes out, if you pre-ordered it physically, and it could be maybe priced at a higher price because it's physical, and then the digital could be at a lower price. And then when it comes out, you'll get the physical and you get the digital, and then they could do it that way.
I really think they could see the market, because then they could say like, okay, well, if you want a physical copy, if 100 people do it, your game's going to cost $100.
Yeah.
Because we have to buy them in bulk.
Because you got to go make
Whereas if you made 1,000,
discs,
your game might only be 20. Well, they wouldn't sell it at 20, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cheaper. It's going to be at market price of what it is, but it's going to cost you more if you're going to pre-order it, and we only get 100.
Yeah. So if you figure it's like, oh, buy a physical, like let's say Grand Theft Auto 6. You buy a physical for $100, but you buy digitally for $80. So then now you have a choice as a consumer. Do I want that physical copy at $20 more, or just go buy the digital one and I save that money and I don't have to get the cases? I think that would be the smart strategy that they should do. And most of these other companies like Nintendo and Microsoft should do. Because then you give it a choice. You don't have to make those physical ones unless they pre-order those physical ones and buy it.
And even your Square Enixes and all those guys, they should just be the ones to say, okay, here's the thing, we're going to take pre-orders now until like this time frame. If we get 1,000, we will make it and you will pay this price. If we don't get 1,000, however it is, because then they still have to send it out and make it.
Yeah, well, if you think about like for like retailers, because what CES and E3 used to be was where companies go look at the new games that are coming out and then place a market order for X amount of the games so that they can have it out for the holiday season. So with the same for the model that we come up with is they could do the same thing. Target, Best Buy, Walmart, all those could go, okay, we're going to do pre-order. We do the same thing. We'll just do physical only or digital. And then do that price there. And then whatever the physical, then they buy those physical ones, ship it to the store, and then send it out there. Or if they think that this game's going to be popular, then Walmart or Target or whatever could buy the physical versions at the more expensive price and then sell it at, more of a price on there because they're buying it in bulk. And I think that would then be a better option.
Even if you think about it, like it's the cheaper option digitally.
It should be.
But you would think though that if they're gonna put on that how long it takes to develop, like put it on the PlayStation Store, all that stuff, it should be cheaper because it doesn't cost you as much as it does to make a physical game per game.
Yeah, per
it doesn't
unit
cost
sold,
you
yeah.
that much. So if you think digitally, like you're going basically behind the licensings and all that stuff, but digital versions should be cheaper because
They should.
Because it
realistically,
doesn't take that long. Really.
Realistically, they're doing the GameStop model, basically, is
We're
what it
paying
is.
for all your licensing fees, your whatever profit you're giving, whatever it costs you to put the game up. Like we're paying for all that as we download it at an $80 price point.
You would think that it should be cheaper because you're going to get more people to buy digital.
If you put up, because I think they said like as the higher the price is, the more it costs to put up. So let's say it's like $5,000, and you put it at $80. You sell 100 copies. You basically already made a profit just for the game. Now I know of course you pay all your people and stuff like that, but like. That's where you're looking at it as when you should be looking at where you're thinking of gaming starting to get expensive. Why is it that a digital copy costs more than a physical copy? It's easier to create the file, and especially too with AI trying to take off. You could create all that stuff and get it up much quicker. You can put up AI slop much quicker,
or you can do like
and get all that stuff done.
Development takes like 5+ years or whatever, like with Remake Part 3, AI could help them do it quicker.
Yep.
So then we don't have to worry about waiting all this. But I think the model that we came up with doing the digital being cheaper than the physical, I think that should be the smart strategy that they should go to. But who are we? We're just two podcasters that talk about retro games and are left for our retro games.
But you know, you got to think
left for gaming. They don't care about us.
Keep your physical copies of your games, because if they truly go to digital, your physical copy is going to be worth something, because now they're going to, like those are going to be worth more when people actually want to have the nostalgia of playing these older games later on. Because how many people are preserving old PS1 games or PS2 games? Like, we're not seeing that anymore.
Well, see, I just came up with the thing of what you were just talking about. Like, an idea came in my head. Nothing says that PS6 is backwards compatible with PS5 or PS4.
Not yet.
So I'm thinking, what if they did it's backwards compatible, but only with the digital versions? The physical, because if they don't want to do physical anymore, it's not backwards compatible. So now they pretty much screwed you out of the market completely.
Yeah.
And I can see Sony doing that move, because like they did with the PS3, being all cocky and saying, oh, you can mortgage out your house to go buy this. Like, this isn't that big of a deal and stuff like that. And then they really hurt themselves. So we'll take a break from the news right now. We'll watch a video of opening up this Magic the Gathering Spider-Man pack. Now, the Spider-Man pack for Magic the Gathering is interesting because of it's Spider-Man. Like, we know most of the characters on there. But did I pull a good card, or did I just get, okay average cards that are like pennies to $1? You got to find out by watching the video to see if I pulled a banger or not.
Same Dark Knight time, same Dark Knight channel.
All right. What's up, everybody? Dark Knight 316, and this is the Loot Box, part of the Roundtable Podcast channel. Today I'm going to be opening up the Spider-Man Magic the Gathering pack. Let's see if we got anything good. First card here says Web Up. And this one here. This one is the Mysterio Phantasm. This one here is Angry Rabble. This one here is Craven's Cats. Swarm being a bees. Never knew that there was a bee guy, but whatever. There's spiders, there's bees. Scout the city. We have pumpkin bombardment. Aunt May. Spidey Bite Web Warden. Web Warriors. We have J. Jonah Jameson. What's this one? We got Eddie Brock. It turns into the Venom. Then we have the Sudden Strike, which is the Hollow. And then we also have a Mountain Energy card. And then we have this here. This is the Treasure card. That on the back is a spider. So did we get anything good for having Eddie Brock or any of these other cards? Put your comment down below to see if you were correct or not. But you'll see all the values of each of these cards. And I'll see you in the next one. Again, like and subscribe for more of these polls. Thank you. All right. So our next story that it's probably going to end with talking about Microsoft. But here's all the stories that came up with Microsoft. So if you didn't know, Phil Spencer, who was the CEO or president of Microsoft, is stepping down. And then Sarah Bond came up, and you saw on our last podcast, we were talking about Sarah Bond is replacing him, and she came from Tyson Chicken and all that.
She's like board of USC.
Yeah,
or
board of all that, and that she was going to run up Microsoft. But now that's not the case anymore. She got so much backlash, I guess, from the community or something that now they're getting rid of her and they're putting in a new person that's taking over. What's her name? Is it
Asha
Sharma?
Asha Sharma?
Yeah. So she's taking over as executive vice president and CEO of Microsoft Gaming. And this lady says that they're going to try to go back to what Xbox was popular about. So making games, making systems, and everything like that. And so then the vice president and chief operator that got promoted is Matt Booty. Not Booty, but Booty on there. And so it's weird seeing all this shakeup in Microsoft and a bunch of these other companies, but I think it's like they were doing about 5-6 years ago, where these decisions they thought was good that they made back then is now hurting them now because it wasn't a good decision. Because I think it was the Tyson Chicken lady? What was her name? Sarah Bond. Mm-hmm. I think she was the one that decided to do the...
Well, you know what? We'll jump on to the next one because they're all going to blend in.
Okay.
But so Sarah Bond, they were saying, because you're going to talk about the campaign, right?
Well, I was going to talk about on how she was the one that said... Oh,
this is an Xbox campaign?
No, the one that says that she was the one that came up with the digital only thing, have it on the Xbox Live, like how it's the day one, do all the Game Pass stuff. She was the one that behind
your prices went
up.
Up. And so here's what the thing is because these are all tying in, but they're saying that Sarah Bond was difficult to work with. Now, look, I understand that because even for me, like, I have a thing where I'm like, I have standards where I'm like, I want to hit this. It's perfect. Trying to, be as perfect as you can. But I think the biggest thing was, because she was saying that this is an Xbox campaign, was where her downfall initially began. Because this campaign basically was saying that you should be able to play Xbox anywhere, which is a terrible mistake. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, though.
That's why they're not making consoles.
And they're saying that she was difficult to work with, and because... she created a work environment where if you didn't follow the vision or you questioned it, you were out. So basically, like, she was like, I'm in charge. you don't, you don't follow what I believe, then like I don't know whether or not they didn't say out like they let you go, or like out like you're not within the circle of trust anymore. But what I thought was interesting though was because they basically got rid of their marketing team and reported their marketing team to like Sarah Bond was for the marketing. So if she greenlighted this is an Xbox campaign, she's the reason why this failed. Yeah. But she said that she's thankful for your time there and it's the right time to step down. Here's my thing. One, you were not a gamer. How you got this position, I cannot tell you. You do or you do not, but I can tell you the thing is you do not have the passion for gaming. And that's a whole reason why.
It even says in here that she wasn't a gamer. It said, where did I see it? To follow vision and question, follow turn according multiply. It says she also wasn't much of a gamer in the way that Spencer was, with a facet of her public persona supposedly being just manufactured solely on appearances.
No,
so she just wanted to be, I'm the CEO, I'm this, blah, blah, blah. You do what I say, blah, 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 like that. But she had no idea of what gaming is like.
And I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, but you can see it, because if Xbox is everywhere, you lose your identity on it, and then you become like how it was.
I started reading articles about that because people were all like, "Oh, well, if I'm a PS5 fan, I should be able to play like Xbox games. Like, I should be able to play Nintendo games on my PS5. Then what's the point of having a PS5 then? Like, what's the point of having that console? Because what's the point of then me saying that like if Pokemon is on PlayStation, what's the point of me getting a Nintendo Switch? What's the point of me getting a PlayStation if Astro Bot is on Nintendo?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? There's no point in gaming anymore
to
be able to get your console.
That's why it was dumb for Microsoft to be like, okay, we're going to put Halo on PS5. Exactly. We're going to go put Gears of War on this.
And I think their biggest downfall, too, was because they bought Bethesda. And then
they bought tons
because they bought Activision. They thought that they could make Activision as Xbox only. When they realized they couldn't do that, I think that's where they started failing.
And then also, I think that's because they were trying to do where they monopolize. Yeah. So that, they buy all these companies there. What's Sony going to do? Sony has nothing then, and kind of doing all that stuff. And that's where they bomb, because look how long it took for now these developers that Microsoft owns to come out with games. Like, look, Fable, if it even will come out, was then developed in 10 plus years for the Fable, and now, it's surfacing. Or with Ninja Theory, like their game, when they were independent, they were making Ninja Gaiden every week basically, and then now when they got bought out by Microsoft, it took them 10 plus years to finally come out with the Ninja Gaiden 4.
Here's the thing where I don't like about this article, because it doesn't matter to me. It says right here, it's worth noting, though, that Bond is a black woman in technology industry. Maybe she did foster a toxic environment. I do not care. If you were a gamer, you have the passion for gaming, then you would understand how you wanted I don't care if you're a black woman in technology industry. If she was a black woman, but she was a gamer and she understood gaming, then I think she'd be more successful at her position. I do not care. So some people will say she was just given the job because she's a black woman in the technology industry. I don't care.
And that could be your downfall. That could have been true. The Microsoft only hired her because she was a black woman. And if that was true,
to say something like
that was her downfall.
I think it's dumb, because you got to look. You got to have if a lot of people who got into gaming development are passionate about video. Yeah. Now, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, because there are people who just get into it for whatever reasons. But you got to think, when Xbox was created because you had a passion of people who wanted to make video games. Because Dreamcast just was done, and you only had two companies, and Xbox was like, we can do this. And Xbox did it, and they were successful. 360 was successful. The problem becomes is look, Xbox has some good things going with them. One, they've preserved their backwards compatibility. Yes. Something PlayStation and Nintendo have not done.
Yeah, because they weren't forward thinking then.
Even with the Switch and all that, you got to think about that. Xbox said that you can put in all your games, most of your old games, and play them on your newest one. Xbox is the only place that you can play your retro games on their current consoles. So that's where Xbox stands out between Nintendo and PlayStation. PlayStation isn't greenlighting it quick enough to be able, like, look how long it took Xbox. I think it took them like a year or two to get all their games on there, and now you can backwards compatible. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't, like, and you have the disc, you just put the disc in. That's what stands out from Nintendo and PlayStation, because Nintendo should say we'll put all of our Nintendo games on the online, now that that's going to be their new platform going forward. You know, all of our Super Nintendo games. They should have every single game on there. How come Xbox was able to do it, and they were able to do it with third-party publishers and all those
They can't
guys
make that excuse of third-party publishers don't want it on it.
Oh, they don't want it. It took to. How come Xbox was able to do it?
Yep.
What was it that Xbox was able to? You don't have to put trophies on there, but what was it that Xbox was able to do to say, you can put your disc in, it can read it, you download the file, and you can play that game. Like, I started playing on my Xbox, I think it was 1. I don't remember which one, because I have Series S as digital.
You have 1S.
But I started playing Final Fantasy 13 on there. I put my disc and started playing it. I was like, oh man, this is great. Like, this is awesome to be able to play. I'm not a big fan of Xbox, but I think that's where Xbox's strength is at. So they should do that, and then they should strengthen their first party, because they can say is, you know what, like, if I'm running your marketing campaign, I'm saying, hey, Xbox is the only place where you can play your whole library of games. And you know what you can do? You can pop it right in the system and play it, because our competitors can't do that. And people who are actually nostalgia to, like, your old school Halo, instead of remaking your Halos and all that, like, that's how you want to get the people. You know what? You don't have to spend $80 on a, yeah, if you want to play the newer stuff, go ahead and spend $80. But if you like your old stuff, I'm sure you got something in your collection. Just pop it right in and play it. So that's where I think Xbox, like, that's where you put Xbox everywhere. I'm already in the mindset, no. Console wars, you have to preserve console wars, because you have to preserve competition. And that's where Nintendo and PlayStation will only get better, is if, like, Xbox positions themselves and saying, we're not having Halo, we're not having Gears of War, we're not having these games on the PlayStation. We don't care. And, like, that's where you kind of see where third-party guys like your Square Enixes and all them should have their games on every platform. Your first-party games shouldn't be done that way.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if you remember back in the PS3 era, I mean, it was even before that too, but it was more dominant in the PS3 era when they had the big 3 instead of the big 2. That it was like, oh, you were a Sony fan because they had, you know, Killzone, they had Resistance, so they had their games on there. You were a Microsoft fan because they had Halo, they had Gears of War, they had that. So it was like, oh, if all your friends were on Xbox and playing this game, but you want to play, you only have a PlayStation, you were more inclined to then buy an Xbox so you could go play with your friends on those games. Now that it's like on everything, it's like, well, now I can just play it on my PS5, and you can play it on your Xbox. What are you going to do to get me to stick with Xbox? Like you're not building lifelong ones on there where you're like, this is the only way I can play this game. And it's like, yeah, everybody in the dream world's like, yeah, we should have it where we can play everything on everything and not have to worry about, or one console that plays all the games. No, that will have what they call AI slop kind of thing. That'll be a gaming slop, because then it's like, there's no point of competition, and competition makes it good, because like if you look at, like, you know, anything like the phone market, if it was just, you know, like AT&T or just T-Mobile, then they can charge whatever they want for their phones, and there's nothing you could do about it, because you have to have a phone, so you're paying for the price. Now that if they have these cheaper companies like, you know, Mint Mobile or anything like that, which none are sponsoring this thing, but you can call me and sponsor it. But these other ones that they're taking markets out of there, and they're like, oh, well, you could get a phone plan for $10 a month, unlimited everything on there. And then if you see that they're taking a hit from AT&T, then AT&T is going to think like, okay, well, what do we have to do now? We're losing this amount of money. What are we going to do, you know, that gives us that market share that we're not moving it over to something else? Same with like Sony. Sony would be like, okay, well, what is Xbox doing that they're taking away all of our people? and you saw that, Sony was like, oh, well, free PlayStation Plus, but that didn't even help them with playing online for free. Like, it helped them a little bit, but then people were already built into the ecosystem of Microsoft paying for online, that then Sony was like, well, look, they're making money every month, so let's go do that. Instead of, like,
PS4
Sony would have destroyed Microsoft if they continued on with it all being free.
And that's
if
where...
they did PS4 for free, PS5 to play online for free, they would have destroyed Xbox a long time ago.
Xbox has to change. I think three core strategies they need to go back to. One, they should have a basic subscription model that just allows you to play online. Nothing else. You can't play their Game Pass, which I know they want you to get Game Pass. Yeah. Of course, everybody wants your subscription. But just to even get somebody to the ecosystem, you can say, hey, I can buy a game. You can buy Xbox and play your favorite games on Xbox free for online. So you can play it online. Strengthen your first party deals, and then also start pushing your backwards compatibility, because you're the only one that has backwards compatibility.
That's fully
backwards compatibility compared to anybody else. I think that's where they need to strengthen that, and that brings us on to our next segment, because the CEO founder,
the new CEO,
well, the old CEO of Xbox said that
Phil Spencer.
It was Phil Spencer and another guy, but the other guy was saying that this new Asha Sharma should quit if she's not passionate about gaming. Which is interesting, though, because they said that they found out that she has an account of Xbox. She played a handful of games, but it's only been like a month ago. So you can tell she's not passionate about gaming. So
you can tell that she probably thought that she was going to get this job. So she's like, well, let me learn about the game so that then, it makes me look better on that.
As I'm going to rip Sarah Bond like I did, I'm going to rip Asha Sharma because she's not passionate about gaming. I can tell you the reason why is because she came from their AI segment. Now, the head of currently of like Microsoft division and all that is a guy who's pushing for AI. So they said that, pointed that. So the old guy Blackley, Seamus Blackley, who was the founder, or I believe co-founder of Xbox, pointed out that Microsoft's massive bet on AI is unprecedented in terms of the money Microsoft is investing into the company's vision for an AI-powered future. This girl is going to bring in, this Asha Sharma is going to push for AI and gaming for Xbox.
Yeah.
It's going to be their downfall.
See, that guy that they said the CEO or whatever, he's the Microsoft. So yeah, you can put AI in your computers and your software like that, but putting it in your gaming, I think that's going to probably be their next thing on there. So basically, like, I could see a future, which will probably happen now with the next system, where, like, on PlayStation and Xbox, when you hit that center button, it'll say...
Copilot's going to pop up.
Yeah, or, like Alexa type thing, it's like, how can I help you? Oh, yeah, can you do this for the game or find this game? Oh, yes. And then it's going to go do that. So it's going to be kind of like having a phone in your pocket, but it's going to be in your hands with the, with your system and stuff. And you kind of saw that a little bit with the PS5 when they had that one where there was like showing hints and stuff where they're like, oh, AI can show you how to, pass this level and blah, 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 blah. You kind of saw hints of that, but I could see your whole ecosystem around AI.
Here's the thing that I thought was interesting about this article. So that Seamus Blackley said that he added that Xbox is going to be sunsetted because it's not core to Microsoft's vision going forward, at least not in the current setup. They don't say that, but that's what's happening. I expect the new CEO, Asha Sharma, her job is going to be a palliative care doctor who slides Xbox gently into the night, because they're looking to fit AI, as he says up here. Generative AI models are looking to fit into everything.
Yeah.
And that's where he's saying it's Xbox is slowly going to die off.
Yeah,
which
so
I agree.
I could see that, because then they're going to be like...
But he says the reason why is because he says that this... Satya Nadella is seeing the world these days given to massive investment in AI, including gaming. Everything is Gen AI problem. Games, of course, are a Gen AI problem. That is the way I say it makes perfect sense. If you're Satya, you have a hammer called Gen AI, and every single problem is a nail. So Who do you put in charge of gaming? A games person? No, because the world side is everything is Gen AI. So you put a Gen AI person in charge of games with a training model, the boot camps for the train, or like you do train AI models and AI into a position to revolutionize games. That's going to be your downfall because you got to think now. You're basically saying that AI is telling you, oh, so I got a problem. Like my game isn't selling well. What do I do? Oh, do the following things. But you have a script of what you're going to run that says to do the following things. I mean, and that could be your downfall. You don't have human hands actually evaluating it and looking at it.
Well, you could see the problem with like AI, like right now, where a lot of people are complaining that everybody's using the AIs to create like thumbnails or creating videos and stuff like that, and like AI could be a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Whereas like Disney's seeing now where they were giving tools to people to create their own movies, and a lot of the time these people are making better looking movies than what Disney is able to produce. And right there, that will show then that Disney can die as a company for their movie division and TV division. Whereas with Microsoft, if they're going to put everything with AI, and I can see Nintendo and Sony following suit too, then gaming is just going to be gone. Yeah, but because gaming then will just be kind of like a hobby instead of more of like kind of like a gaming life type thing.
But here's my thing though, is because they said that if they're going to use AI as a solution to solve the problems, then how do you apply that solution that Xbox is failing right now as a company? They're failing as a gaming division.
Yeah, but they're going to be putting this AI to try to help.
How do I use the AI to be able to say, oh, so here's the problem. We're third right now in the console wars. How do I get to number one? Mm-hmm. What does AI say?
I don't know. We should try see what AI says.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but then okay, so let's just say right off the bat they said make better games. Then how do you make the better games? And then that's what AI doesn't explain. Like the how, like they can tell you all day, run the data and things like that. But how then do you interpret that data and make it to an actionable plan? That's what AI doesn't do for you. I think that's where you can put AI solve all the problems in the world. But it's how you action against using, if you're going to use the AI model, how do you action against that to be able to say, okay, this is how I'm going to be able to make money by solving that problem. You're not going to be able to do it unless you can action against it. So I'm sure this lady probably knows she's, working with the AI. I'm giving her the benefit of doubt that she knows how to do it. I can tell she's not a gamer. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they want to be in the gaming business anymore. So I think this is their thing of not being out. And whereas I say Sega should scoot right in and make a Dreamcast too, but that's where I think that they should say, okay, like, why don't you type in the AI what works for a pricing model of Xbox Game Pass? Oh, okay, lower the price. Oh, well, that doesn't fit. We're gonna keep it where it's at. Like, somebody has to make those decisions. If they're going by AI, somebody has to make those decisions on whether or not AI is actually correct on how you can make it and solve the world's problems for Xbox, or if you're just going to punch that in there and let them do all your finance stuff at the end of the day. So, you can see the pros and cons between the both.
Also with this AI thing on there is, like, I've used AI, you used AI, and it's not the best thing. Like,
not right now.
Like, AI will get better and it'll probably be easier. But she's thinking about a world where we use AI for everyday life, where it's like, what am I going to make for dinner? I don't know. Hey, AI, what should I make for dinner? And then it's like kind of get, to know you. And then it's like, oh, yeah, make, steak for dinner. Like, blah, 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 like that. That's where she's trying to do it there where, like I was saying a few minutes ago, it's like they're trying to make gaming where it's just going to be like a niche hobby. And they've been trying to do that for years, though. Because the CEO of Xbox was trying to get rid of, or CEO of Microsoft was trying to get rid of the Xbox division and not focus on games, just focus on software and hardware for PC. That's why they try to put it on everything, because they're trying to get rid of gaming. I don't think that they want to be in the gaming market anymore. It's kind of like, I see it as the WWF versus WCW era, where
WWF,
where WWE. WCW came out with a better product for a certain amount of time, where then WWF had to adapt to try to beat out WCW, because WCW was beating them in the ratings and everything like that, and ratings was everything. And then, WWF pivoted and went to the Attitude Era on there, and then WCW couldn't compete, and then WWF was able to buy out WCW. I could see where it's like, and with like WCW, like Ted Turner, he liked the wrestling, so he wanted to keep it on their TV format. But then when he sold it to AOL on there, from Time Warner to AOL, the AOL people were like, yeah, we don't want wrestling, like get rid of this, like sell it to whoever wants to buy it. And I could see this kind of being the same thing, where Microsoft's like, oh, well, we don't want, gaming development. Like, look how much money it costs to make all these games. Like, we're losing all this money, nobody wants to buy it. So let's just get rid of the gaming division on there, and like let Sony and Nintendo make games, and we'll just have it on our thing if people want to do it. So they're trying to make it where gaming is just I do it here and there, occasional thing, not like a
what
thing
do
where
you think
people
about
can make
this
money.
though? So I want to say he's co-founder. I don't know if he's co-founder of Xbox, but he says that Sharma is going to have a rude awakening with gamers. He said gamers are impatient and intolerant generally. Do you think that's true as gamers? You think we're impatient and intolerant? We don't like this. You need to bring this out now. How come you don't have Final Fantasy 15 as a turn-based that I like? And she's gonna have rude awakening because then everybody's gonna be like, "This is trash. This looks terrible." Because you got to think about the game. How many people in the gaming market have you read through comments and they're all like, "Hey, I'll give this game a chance. It doesn't look good, but I'll give the game a chance." Like, you don't see that. They go, "This looks like trash. This looks like this. It's not worth my time. How come they don't make a Chrono Trigger?" Like,
well, that's what
give them time.
That's what they want.
And that's what he's saying. Gamers are impatient and intolerant because everybody's like, "I want this old school one," and then that old school one comes out and doesn't sell as much money. They didn't make it like how I remember it. It should have been exact same with carbon copy of this. No remake. Why do they use a 2D, 3D? And it's like, you were the one who wanted this game. But I also think, too, what I thought was interesting, though, is he's basically saying, too, that this, the Xbox guy is like, he's not in a position to be able to, because they said he believes that AI is going to fix the games and make it profitable. But he says that the guy has to make the move to AI. It doesn't matter what you think about it. He doesn't think that guy had any choice to do it because Microsoft is pushing AI so much. He thinks that they had to integrate AI, put a co-pilot into the next Xbox. But I thought this was interesting. I think this puts the whole thing into perspective. He said that he would give some words of advice to Sharma that if I was talking to her, I would say, look, if you're not really passionate about games, or if you can't develop a passion for games, then you should find a way to leave this job soon, which is true.
Well, I like the other part where it says, Blackley said that if she can gain the trust of the gaming community and also build a real business, then she could become very powerful at Microsoft. It says Blackley suggested that Sharma should meet with former game industry veterans like Shuhei Yoshida, Phil Harris from PlayStation, or Peter Moore from Xbox, which that guy,
and Reggie
Phillips from Nintendo. It says go and talk to those leaders and how they succeeded and failed in the business and learn from them. Yep. Don't try to make it up on your own and go get the data.
You know what
that's perfect.
And you know what I would suggest for this Miss Sharma lady? She should do live streams because, one, that's your younger audience is more into your live stream, but show how AI would work into this new model of what you want to do for Xbox. I think that's where you're going to be able. Now you won't, but I think it would be interesting.
They'll probably do that when they make their next console.
I think it would be interesting as her specifically, you have a Twitch account or a Kick account, whatever, live streaming on YouTube, but you're showing how this goes through. And her, because she's pushing it all, takes that action of, I will show them, how this works, rather than just being the person behind the background just
No, she's going to be doing all that stuff because
I don't think so, because she's not a gamer.
Yeah, but she's not going to be the gamer. She's going to be, because she's done presentations for AI and all that stuff like that.
She's going to get the people to be like, okay, I think if she physically did it. It's
going to be more like, she's going to physically do it. It's going to be more like how what Sony does. They have that I think it's Mark Cerny, whatever, where he's like, we have 8 teraflops of this in our gaming, and showing off like a PowerPoint one where it was like
PowerPoint.
No, but this is what I'm talking about. Around. And because they have to have the model built already, and so like they didn't have the PS5 built there, and so that Mark Cerny guy was like, we got 8 teraflops here, which is equivalent to 15 of this PlayStation 4 game, and he's talking all the technical stuff, which most people were like, boring. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Does it play games? Like that kind of stuff. Know what you're talking about. And it only went with the nerds that knew all the stuff about PC and what the teraflops is and what it does and stuff like that. So she's going to do the same thing where they got the AI and she's going to say, AI here helped build this teraflop of this data for this Microsoft game here, and this graphics is going to be like that, and people are just going to be like, yeah, this is boring, what can it go do on there, and then the system will come out. So she's going to do the same thing on there to be the face of it, because she's going to be shown, because now that she's the face of Microsoft, she's going to go out there and do it, and she already has done presentations on AI and stuff like that for the companies that she already worked for Microsoft. So she's going to be comfortable with doing the AI PowerPoints and stuff like that to go do it. And
she's got to get that.
So I said that. Gaming. Well, I said that that's going to be fine on there. But like the guy said, is like if you don't have a passion for gaming, it's going to show in your presentation on what you're passionate about. With that, for Sony, you could tell that this guy was passionate about engineering. He was telling you about every asset of, we use a 1/4-inch screw to go screw this part in there, and people that aren't engineers are like, I don't care, because they play games, like that kind of stuff.
You think about like when you talk about somebody who's passionate for gaming, like especially if there's a Final Fantasy, like people could tell you pros and cons and why they believe Final Fantasy 4 isn't the greatest, and like they could tell you why it is, or they can even tell you about like. If you got those people who are really good into it, like they could tell you those niche like games that like I don't even know about, but they could tell you why that is really good to be able to use and things like that. So it's like I know it's probably for her it's gonna be like more corporate kind of stuff. I don't think AI, like I do believe that Xbox is gonna sunset until the night after this generation, because I think Ally is not gonna be good. I don't think that's gonna be good. Their next Xbox, I think. Unless they change their business, not if they want to use AI as like a secondary tool, I think that would be work for a companion. But if they need to change up their business model and get back to basics of what made the 360 the console that was demolishing PS3. That's what the Xbox has to look at and be able to say, strengthen your first party games, strengthen your retro games to make. You should say. You're all in for Xbox. You're all in that you can play everything on your newest, whatever you're gonna and name your Xbox something that isn't a Xbox One S, Xbox the Xbox 360, Xbox 7. Like name it something good, and also have a low free subscription model, because I think that is what would get people, because they could go, oh, I can play. I'll spend $60 to play Call of Duty, but I'm also paying $60 to play this online with the PlayStation. I have to pay all this monthly and do all this stuff. Whereas if you're like, hey, you know what? You buy Call of Duty, you get a free subscription model. Like something like that.
Or they should just have a.
They should have a low tier, like a Xbox Online only, or something
where you just play the online. You don't get access to anything else.
Because now, if you start wanting your subscription, it's like, what are the benefits? Like, give me a reason why I should be buying your Xbox Game Pass. When you raise the price, I said it's cheaper to go to PlayStation. But now,
PlayStation is going to raise their prices.
PlayStation is eventually going to do it, but now you have to think, is Xbox only in the next console generation? If you could get that market because you're pushing for free online, nobody else is doing free online. So it's like, if you want to, and I think too, what would be interesting as well? Xbox having a more of just like a retro, basically like a retro games. like how Nintendo does it, but through the subscription. So if you're somebody who doesn't have all those games to just pop in your system, you can play all those games for free with your subscription.
Well, I think that's what they should do with the tiers, is have a free one, where so like we'll do the Sony model. You have the online free one where you don't pay anything a month, but you also don't get the the games every month. Nope. You got to go to the next tier, and let's say make the next tier cheaper, because obviously their retro gaming is not pulling off on Sony. So all these models here should be way cheaper, because if you look at what you get for each of those tiers, it's not really worth the money. But so if you have the free one where you only go play online and stuff like that, you can't buy DLC, you can't buy any of that stuff for your games, because that's on the next tier. So you'll just have basically the bare bone games where you can download the updates and stuff like that, and play your game, like kind of like how it was before. And then, you know, if you want to go, but you'll get access to the PlayStation Store, where you can then decide to buy the extra games digitally and stuff like that. But then if you want, you know, maybe like the season pass or maybe something else on there, you pay for the more expensive tier. And then that's when they can put them in different like tiers to like have the different things where it's like, okay, well, the next one up, you get the free games a month. And you get to play online for free. So then that's what you get there. Then the next tier 2, could be like
all your retro plus
free like you get
or whatever.
Free games of the month, and then maybe like it'll do one extra free game that's exclusive to that tier. You know, so you get like, let's say
you can only choose one of the free games.
So it'll be like maybe like the second tier is you get 2 games free a month, but with the next tier up you get 3 games a tier, and that third game you get to choose between the list of these ones what it is for free, and it changes every month. Then, and you also get online and all the backwards thing. And then the other tier is you get like the retro games, and we'll make sure that they update everything all the time for the retro games, and you get, you know, maybe an extra game for free online. Like make it where it's worth the gaming's job of wanting to pay.
What would be interesting is some of these games that are like let's say an Elder Scrolls, for instance, they're releasing it, or let's just say this, like Resident Evil Requiem that's coming out this week. If you have the most expensive Xbox subscription, you can play it day one on Xbox Game Pass. Like they will come up with a way to be able to do it with the most expensive one. That they get the cut however they do it. If you don't, you have to buy it full price. But it's not on like the catalog, but you can play it day one. Like they should do, because you know a lot of times people would, this should drop day one. There should be some kind of agreement where it's like,
well, they have it where you can play it 3 days earlier.
But you shouldn't, you know, like do all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how that would want to work.
But yeah, they should go back to doing the free gaming on there, because if they keep raising it every single like month or year or a couple of years and stuff like that, people are gonna just be like,
eventually people are just gonna be like, you know what, like I can't, like
I still like I still have my disc, or I still have a bunch of these other games. I'm just gonna go back and play those ones, and then you're going to stagnate the market on there. So I think that they should redo their tiers. Same with Microsoft too. Like they could redo their tiers.
I think Microsoft
and do it better.
Could redo their tiers. I'm curious to know. I want to think through how you could do a day one. Like, you know, people buy your most expensive one. You can play this one game day one. Revisit.
Well, Microsoft already does that with their Game Pass.
Yeah, but without
they stopped doing it now.
Because I know like some developers saying it's not worth doing it, but like as a way of being able to say like, okay. If people are paying $80 or you know whatever, like you get a percentage for having it on there, but it's technically like not on there. You go, or like you know like the first month, like something like that. I don't know. I'd have to think that one through, because
I mean, like,
I don't know how that would work.
Xbox already did it where they have a day one on Game Pass, and you can already go download it and play it. So they already have that model, and apparently it works because most of the games were like that. But what I think what you're thinking of is have it where it's like the people that have the more expensive tier get like limited access to the game first.
Day one.
So I would think that they should do it like days early, like how some games do it, where it's like pre-order this game, you get it 2 days before the release date.
That would be interesting.
If they did that where you pay the more expensive one,
you get access to
those games like 2 days before that. So then it'll make it where...
And you can play it as long as you want, but you only have access it until like the release date or you get them earlier.
Yeah,
if you pre-ordered it and you get it 2 days early, you may get it like 2 days before that. So you get it. You can play for a full
I would say
4
that
days.
they don't do that for pre-orders.
So
I would just say that with the most expensive tier, is you automatically get every game 2 days early so that you have access to go play it, because then that would entice people.
But then once that game drops, like you don't have access anymore because it's enticing you to be able to play.
Well, you still have access to do it because you'll own the game. You're just getting it 2 days earlier, where everybody else who has to wait until the game releases, you're getting it 2 days earlier.
No, I'm saying it's like a tester type. You know how you can play it 2 days early, but it's like you play the full game 2 days early, however long you want, but then because you have the most subscription, but when that game drops, then you have to buy it at full price.
No, I don't think that would be good, because it wouldn't be worth, as a consumer, like, yeah, I'm paying it for 2 days early, but then I still got to pay for the game. I think that they should just give it to you 2 days early so that you have a head start on playing the game, and then everybody else who doesn't have that high tier has to pay it when has to wait till it comes out. So it's like, it'll entice you going, oh, well, that Final Fantasy game's coming out. I really want to go and play it. I don't want to have to wait for my pre-order to come in or wait for it to come out in retail. If I had this most expensive, I can already go and play it and then give my opinion on how well the game's going to be to, like, online content creators and stuff like that. And you can be like, all right, because you already see that a lot of these gaming magazines and some of these influencers get a copy of the game early, and then they have to wait until they have that NDA embargo and stuff like that. And
one of the things I was just thinking about too is like piggybacking off of that, Xbox should do a thing where it's like, play it here first. Kind of like, yeah, it may be multi-platform, but you can play it here like 3 days early instead of the 2 days early, as an enticement for you should just jump in and play.
Well, they used
play
to,
here first before.
They used to do that with Call of Duty, where it was like Xbox play it on Xbox first before it goes to Sony. Like, they used to do all that stuff.
They don't do that anymore.
On there. No, because it's on day one everywhere. But I think that they should do that I think even Nintendo should restructure their tiers. And
Xbox has the potential to be able to jump back into the...
Yeah, I don't see it happening with the new CEO of trying to do. They're just going to basically like have Xbox die in a slow grave.
But they're going to hand it off to Sega, and then Sega's going to bring out the Dreamcast too.
Well, I don't know if Sega's going to do that, but Sony now has an opportunity of restructuring everything for the PS6, especially since PS6 is going to be delayed till almost 2030. So maybe they should come up with restructuring their stuff and make a free tier, because ultimately you're not going to be in a business if you don't have any customers. And if you're going to keep pricing out customers on there, because all they keep saying is games are more expensive because it takes so much to go and develop it. Well, now AI's out. So it's supposed to ease the pain of development time to cut it down. So then, if that's true, then make it easier for the consumer.
Do the prices
cut it down.
Drop?
Yeah,
No.
Exactly. The price won't drop, but make it easier. Make the prices drop, because now what took you 10 years to normally develop is taking you 2 years to develop, because AI is doing all the stuff on the back end.
Doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So then you should put that for your consumer, because then they're going to buy it and be like, oh, yeah, this game is good. You can keep making out popular ones or doing DLCs to it and keep putting it on. That's what's going to save you as a company. If you keep doing it where you're going to keep pricing it going, well, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be $100. We can put this game for $100 and the game bombs, and then you're like, fire all the people here making it. It's like, well, you made the decision to make it $100. Don't make it the industry standard. Be the deflector. Be the one that's...
Be the one who sets it.
Yeah. The one that makes it where... like, what came to mind right now is basically like the whole Madden and EA. When Madden was...
2K.
Or 2K, yeah. When Madden was like, oh, we're the only football game. We're the best, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, $50, blah, blah, blah. 2K came out with their NFL game, $20. and it blew up the football market. Where then what did EA had to do? Oh, we'll buy exclusive rights, so now they can't make their NFL game. So they had to pivot because they saw, oh, everybody's buying this game at $20. It's a better looking game. It was a better game, and we just keep making the same thing. Just put the new skins on the new people, change their names. Never innovated with the new technology stuff, and then they had to go buy the exclusive right. So that's what they should do. Is somebody needs to come out, price everything way lower than everybody else's standards, and that will draw the people to your system. So Microsoft has a chance to say, okay, we're gonna make everything like $30, let's say, or $40, or what it used to be, and then people are gonna be like, well, I'm willing to pay $1,200 for your console because in the long run, all these games are gonna be like $40. I can go for that, where Sony's selling it for $100 for the exact same game. No, I'm gonna pay $50. I'm gonna go where it's cheaper on there because not everybody is like billionaires that have a bunch of money that it means nothing to them for buying it. They're all like, most people play like one game, one or two games a year, and that's all that they have. So if you can entice them to get the one or two ones for a year, then that's what it is. Let's see, what does this one say?
This is nonsense. AI is the future of everything, whether you like it or not. Games are exempt from this. The amount of money being spent on AI is staggering. Game studios, they're just being quiet about it. Even Sony patents some of the systems. AI stuff, it's called change. It happens. It's part of life. Grow up and get some. Personally, I think there's a lot of potential in AI, blah, blah, blah. That's why Phil Spencer couldn't start changes Microsoft CEO. So, you see a lot of people...
Don't know perfectly, blah, blah, blah.
But see, here's the thing, though. It's like, people talk bad on Gen AI, but then everybody hears like, oh, it's good. Yeah, they should do it. And everybody's like, how dare Expedition 33 use generative AI? It's like now everybody's already talking about, oh, yeah, it's good, it's fine. But
well, that's all the stories we have there. We actually went a little bit longer on this podcast than we normally do. But that's because, we're passionate about gaming and we don't want to see gaming die. So, but I'm Dark Knight 316. There's Robert Wheeler Gaming, and you have experienced the Roundtable podcast. So go like and subscribe so we can do more of these on here, and hopefully get a third person come in here and there to go give their opinion on, because it's a round table. So we want a round table of ideas of whether they're for AI or against AI, so they can join the conversation.
I never liked Allen Iverson.
So, we'll see you on the next one, and keep gaming, whether it's with AI or not. So we'll see you on the next one.
Take it easy.
Yeah.